The human opened his eyes. Cold air touched his skin. His hands shook. The floor beneath him was not stone, not wood. It was smooth black metal. A dim blue light spread across the walls, showing strange alien signs carved deep into the surface. His heart beat faster. He was not on Earth anymore. He pushed himself up slowly. The room smelled of iron and smoke, like a place where death lived. His head felt heavy. He tried to remember. How did he get here? The last thing he recalled was walking under the stars, hearing the sound of something in the sky. Then, darkness. Now he was here, a prisoner. And he was not alone. In front of him stood two alien sisters. They were tall, their skin pale silver, their eyes glowing faintly like moons. Both were chained by the wrists, their arms pulled high. Their clothes were torn and fear lived in their faces. One looked older, strong but tired, with sharp eyes that still held fire. The other was younger, softer, trembling, her gaze full of silent tears. The human's breath caught in his throat. Who were they? Why were they tied like this? Before he could speak, the heavy sound of footsteps filled the chamber. The ground shook. A shadow fell over them all. From the far end of the room, the alien warlord entered. His armor was black and gold, his horns curved high, his voice deep as thunder. He looked at the human with a cruel smile. "Human," the warlord said. His words came in broken earth language, heavy but clear. "You will decide. Pick one sister. She will live. The other will die." The human froze. His chest tightened. "What?" he whispered. The warlord's smile widened. "You heard. A test. A game. Choose life. Choose death. But choose now." The older sister shook her head violently. "No, don't listen. He only wants blood," she cried in her own alien tongue. The younger sister sobbed, her voice breaking. "Please, I don't want to die." The human's legs felt weak. He stepped back, pressing against the wall. His mind raced. Why him? Why would this monster ask him to decide? The warlord walked closer, his golden eyes burning like fire. "Your species claims to know mercy, honor, justice. Show me. Prove what a human heart chooses when pressed with death." The human's hands clenched into fists. He looked at the sisters. Both were strangers, both terrified, both waiting for his words. How could he decide? How could he choose one life and end another? The room grew colder. The silence stretched. Only the sound of chains echoed as the sisters moved, restless in fear. The warlord leaned closer. His breath was hot and bitter. 1 hour, that is all. In 1 hour, you speak. Pick the one who lives, or I kill both. The human's stomach twisted. 1 hour, a countdown to doom. He looked again at the sisters. The older one locked eyes with him. She spoke slowly, carefully, her voice strong. "Human, I am loyal. I have fought for my people. If one must die, let it be me. My sister is young. She deserves life." The younger one gasped and shook her head. "No, she lies. She wants you to pity her. Don't believe her. I know things, secrets. I can help you escape this place if I live. Choose me." The human's mind spun. Lies? Truth? Which one? His chest ached with pressure. He turned his eyes away. He could not bear their faces. He pressed his hand against the cold wall. He wished this was a dream. He wished he could wake up back on Earth. But the warlord's laugh cut through his hope. A deep, cruel laugh. "Impossible choice, human. But this is the way of my people. You judge. You carry the weight. And when you speak, blood will follow." The warlord stepped back and sat on a throne of iron, watching like a predator waiting for the kill. The human's heart thundered. He had no weapons, no allies. Oh, only his mind, his will. He had 60 minutes to decide. He looked again at the sisters. Their silver eyes shone with fear, anger, and desperate hope. They were strangers, yet their lives now hung by his voice. The chamber felt smaller. The air felt heavier. Time moved like a blade slicing closer with each second. One choice, one life, one death. The human whispered to himself, his voice breaking. "What am I supposed to do?" The camera would zoom in on his eyes, filled with dread, filled with conflict. The screen would fade to black, and the question would hang in the air for every watcher. If it were you, which sister would you choose? The human could not sleep. He could not think. His chest rose and fell with fear as the hourglass of time poured away. One choice, one life, one death. The warlord sat on his black throne of iron. His golden eyes glowed in the dark chamber. He looked like a beast waiting for prey to break. But then the warlord stood, his massive frame towering like a mountain. His heavy boots shook the floor as he walked toward the prisoner. "You wonder why you are here," the warlord said in his rough, broken earth tongue. "You think this is random, but it is not. This is my people's trial, an ancient game, a test of outsiders. The weak collapse, the strong reveal their truth." The human swallowed hard. He wanted to scream, to fight, to break free, but he was trapped. The warlord pointed at the two chained sisters. "They are daughters of rebellion, one loyal, one traitor, one true, one false. Which is which? That is your test." The sisters flinched. The older one's eyes burned with fury. The younger one's tears fell harder. "Lies," the older cried. "We are no traitors. We are only victims of your cruelty." The warlord ignored her. His deep voice echoed. "If you choose the traitor to live, then your mercy is weakness. If you choose the loyal one to die, then your justice is blind. Either way, human, you bleed with guilt." The human felt his stomach twist. It was not just a choice of life and death. It was a trap. Yeah, no matter what he chose, he would lose something. The warlord smiled, enjoying the torment. Then he waved his hand, and guards in black armor marched into the chamber. They carried weapons that sparked with red energy. Their faces were hidden, but their whispers were not. The human listened carefully. One guard whispered to another, "The older sister betrayed her people. She opened the gates. She deserves death." Another guard replied, "No, fool. It was the younger one. She gave secrets to the enemy. That is why both are here." The whispers clashed like knives. Different stories, different truths. The human's mind raced. Was this part of the game? Was the warlord feeding him lies through his soldiers? The warlord saw his confusion and laughed. "You cannot trust them. You cannot trust anyone. That is the beauty of the game. You must decide with nothing." The human clenched his fists. His heart pounded like drums. Nothing made sense. He turned to the sisters. His voice shook, but he spoke. "Tell me the truth. Who are you?" The older one lifted her chin, though chains cut into her wrists. "I am a warrior of my people. I fought against the warlord's armies. If I must die, I die with honor. But my sister, she must live. She has a future." The younger shook her head quickly. "No, don't believe her. She speaks like a hero, but she lies. She worked with the warlord once. I saw it. She thinks you will pity her. But if she lives, she will betray you too. I am the one you should save." The human's eyes darted between them. Both voices sounded desperate. Both sounded true or false. He could not tell. The warlord leaned close, his smile sharp as blades. "Do you see now, human? Mercy or judgment? Either way, you kill. Your heart will carry death, no matter your words." The human's mind screamed. He wanted to refuse. He wanted to say, "I will not choose." But then he remembered the warlord's threat. If he refused, both would die. The weight pressed heavier on his chest. The warlord stepped back. His voice roared, "You have half the hour left. Think well, human. Think carefully. For when the time is gone, your voice seals their fate." Then he left the chamber, leaving guards at the doors. The human sat on the cold floor. His thoughts stormed like thunder. The older sister's fire, the younger's fear, the whispers of the guards, the cruel smile of the warlord. Every piece felt like a trap. He closed his eyes. He thought of Earth. He thought of human values, mercy, justice, hope. On Earth, no one should decide such things. Life and death should not be toys. But here, in this alien chamber, he was forced into the role of judge, jury, and executioner. His fists trembled. His breathing grew heavy. He whispered to himself, "Maybe there's another way. Maybe I don't have to play their game." The sisters looked at him, desperate for an answer, but he gave none. Not yet, because deep in his heart, a spark had been born, a dangerous spark. If he could not choose, maybe he could break the game. The screen would fade as his face lifted, determination growing in his eyes. The clock still ticked. The choice still hung like a blade. But now, for the first time, the human was thinking not of picking one sister, but of saving them both. The chamber grew quiet after the warlord left. Only the sound of chains rattling in the cold echoed in the room. The human sat on the hard floor, his back against the wall. His thoughts were heavy, his heart restless. Half the hour had already passed. The older sister leaned forward as far as the chains allowed. Her sharp eyes locked on him. Human, listen to me. The warlord wants you broken. He wants guilt inside you. Do not give him victory. Save my sister. Let me carry the burden. The younger sister shook her head violently, her silver hair falling across her face. Tears clung to her cheeks. No, do not trust her. She says noble words, but she is poison. She gave secrets to the enemy once. I saw it with my own eyes. If she lives, you will regret it. The human's stomach twisted. Their words cut deep. Both sounded true. Both sounded false. He rubbed his temples. How can I know? Then he heard it again. Whispers. The guards at the door spoke in low voices, thinking the human could not hear. One said, the older sister opened the gates during the war. Many died because of her. She is the traitor. The other hissed back. No, fool. It was the younger one. She sent messages to the enemy. I heard my captain say it. The human's heart raced. The whispers were different, just like before. Each guard told a different story. They're feeding me lies, he thought. The warlord wants me lost in doubt. He looked at the sisters again. One strong, one trembling, one speaking of honor, the other of survival. How could he judge them when he knew nothing of their past? He stood and paced the chamber. His steps echoed sharply on the black metal floor. He turned suddenly and faced them. If you want me to believe you, he said, his voice firm, then give me proof, not words, proof. The older sister's eyes narrowed. Proof? My scars are proof. I fought in battles against the warlord's armies. Look at my arms, my hands, they carry the marks of war. She twisted her wrists, showing long burns and deep cuts. Her body told the story of pain. The younger sister trembled, her voice breaking. And what about me? I have no scars. I was not a fighter, but I carry knowledge. I know hidden paths in this fortress. I know where food and weapons are kept. If I live, I can guide you out. That is proof enough. The human's mind burned. Both sounded convincing. One showed strength, the other offered escape. Both pushed him to choose, but he still felt the trap around him. He sat again and lowered his voice so only they could hear. Listen to me. Maybe both of you are innocent. Maybe both of you are guilty. But I think the warlord's real goal is not truth. His goal is to make me kill. His goal is to stain my hands with your blood. The sisters looked at him confused. The older tilted her head. Then what will you do? The human's jaw tightened. His voice was steady now. Maybe I will not play his game at all. The younger gasped. But if you refuse, he will kill us both. He leaned closer. Then we must find another way. The sisters stared at him in silence. Their fear mixed with hope. The guards shifted at the door. One muttered, the human is too calm. He should be begging. He should be crying. The other whispered back, maybe he has a plan. Maybe he thinks he can trick the warlord. The human heard them, and a small spark lit in his chest. Yes, a plan. If he could not choose, then he must outsmart the warlord. He began to study the chamber. The chains, the walls, the guards, the throne. His human mind searched for weakness. The hourglass of time still poured. Sand of fate still fell. But now the human was not only thinking about who to choose, he was thinking about how to break the choice itself. The older sister leaned closer, whispering, human, if you mean to resist, then be careful. The warlord's eyes are everywhere. He will crush you if you defy him openly. The younger added softly, but maybe you can turn his game against him. He expects fear. He expects obedience. What if you give him neither? The human nodded slowly. Their words gave fuel to the fire inside him. For the first time, his heart felt less heavy, not free, but strong. He clenched his fists, his eyes lifted toward the ceiling. If they want me to play a cruel game, then I will play it my way. The chains rattled as the sisters shifted, watching him closely. The guards at the door fell quiet, uneasy. Something had changed in the human's face. The warlord's trap was still there. The impossible choice still hung like a sword above them all. But now, deep in the silence, a dangerous thought had taken rose. That the human was no longer just deciding between life and death. He was preparing for rebellion. The human sat in silence, but inside his head, storms raged. The warlord thought he was trapped. The guards thought he was weak. Even the sisters were unsure if he could help them. But he was human. And humans had something no chain, no warlord, no game could ever crush, the power to think differently. He studied the chamber, the throne of iron, the hourglass on the table, its sand slipping away, the guards at the doors, holding their glowing weapons but speaking in careless whispers, and the sisters, chained, desperate, but still alive. The warlord had given him 1 hour. Soon he would return. Soon he would demand an answer. But the human whispered to himself, I will not give him the answer he wants. I will give him one he cannot control. The older sister leaned forward. You look calm now. Do you have a plan? The human's lips tightened. Maybe, but I need to hear more. Tell me again, what happened before this trial? The older's eyes darkened. We were taken from our village. They called us traitors because we would not bow to him. That is all. The younger cut in quickly. No, she is not telling everything. She worked with his men before. I saw her in secret meetings. Stop, the human said, raising his hand. His voice was calm but sharp. Both of you keep pointing at each other. Maybe one of you is guilty. Maybe both of you are innocent. But I cannot spend my mind on that anymore. What matters is survival. Yours and mine. The sisters looked at him in silence. For the first time, he sounded less like a prisoner and more like a leader. The guards at the door shifted uneasily. They glanced at one another. One muttered, the human speaks with strength. That is not good. The other whispered back, the warlord will break him soon. Do not fear. But fear was growing in the guards' own hearts, though they would not admit it. The human leaned back against the wall. His mind was sharp, clear now. He needed to play a trick so bold that the warlord would not expect it. If I choose, I lose, he thought. If I refuse, I lose. But if I twist the rules, maybe I win. He stood slowly, walking toward the sisters. His footsteps echoed. Both sisters looked at him with wide, questioning eyes. He whispered so the guards could not hear. When the warlord returns, I will speak in riddles. I will play his game, but not as he wants. When I do, follow my lead. Watch my eyes. The older frowned. You risk everything. The younger trembled. If you fail, he will kill us all. The human nodded. Yes, but if I play safe, he will kill you anyway. So trust me, just once. Trust a human. The sisters exchanged a long, heavy glance. Then slowly, both nodded. The trick was set. Moments later, the sound of footsteps thundered again. The chamber shook. The warlord returned, his golden eyes glowing brighter than before. The hourglass was almost empty. He stepped to the throne and raised his arms high. His voice roared. Time is done. Speak, human. Who lives? Who dies? The sisters tensed. The guards leaned forward, eager for blood. The crowd beyond the chamber stirred. Everyone was waiting. The human walked to the center of the floor. He stood tall, though his heart raced. His eyes locked on the warlords. He spoke clearly. I have made my choice. The room fell silent. The warlord's cruel smile spread. Good. Speak it. The human took a slow breath. Then his words cut through the silence. I choose the guilty one to live. The chamber exploded with gasps. The guards stepped back in shock. The sisters' eyes widened. Even the warlord blinked, stunned. You... What? The warlord growled. The human's voice grew louder. Yes, you call this justice? You call this mercy? Then I choose the guilty one. Because guilt deserves a chance to change. Because even a traitor can rise again. If you wanted me to kill, I will not. If you wanted me to save only the loyal, I will not. I choose the one you hate most. Let them live. The crowd beyond the walls murmured. Confusion spread like fire. No one had ever dared twist the game this way. The warlord's golden eyes narrowed. His smile faltered. For the first time, the game was not in his control. You mock me, human, he growled. His voice was thunder, but his steps were slow, uncertain. The human stood firm. His fists clenched, but his face calm. I mock nothing. You wanted a choice. I gave you one. Now take the blood you demanded, or admit your game is broken. The sisters stared at him with shock and hidden hope. The guards whispered in fear. The crowd murmured louder. The warlord's grip on power cracked, if only a little. The trick had worked. The human had not refused the game. He had not followed it either. He had bent it, twisted it, reshaped it into something no one expected. The warlord's jaw tightened, his golden eyes burned, his voice rumbled like a storm. Careful, human. You walk on a blade's edge. One wrong word, and you fall. But deep inside, the human smiled. For the first time, the impossible choice was no longer impossible. For the first time, the game belonged to him. And as the warlord glared down, the human whispered in his heart, You wanted a test, you will get a war. The warlord's golden eyes burned with fury. His throne of iron trembled under his weight as he rose. The human had twisted the trial. The human had spoken words no outsider had ever dared to speak. I choose the guilty one to live. Those words still echoed in the chamber. The crowd outside the iron doors murmured like a storm. The guards shifted nervously. The two sisters stared at the human, their chains rattling as they pulled against them. The warlord's voice thundered. "You dare mock the ancient game? You dare break the order of my people?" The human stood tall in the center of the floor. His chest rose and fell with heavy breaths, but his voice was steady. "You gave me a choice. I gave you an answer. If you cannot accept it, then your game is nothing but a lie." Gasps spread through the crowd. Even the guards looked uneasy. The warlord's face twisted with rage. He raised one clawed hand, ready to strike. But the human stepped forward, his fists clenched, his voice louder than ever. "No," he shouted. "Enough of this. I will not kill for your amusement. I will not be your butcher. If you want blood, take mine first." The words slammed into the chamber like thunder. The sisters' eyes widened in shock. The guards froze. The crowd beyond the doors roared in disbelief. No outsider had ever spoken such words. No prisoner had ever dared to challenge the warlord so openly. The warlord's smile returned, cruel but shaken. "You offer yourself? A human who knows nothing of our ways dares to defy me?" The human's jaw tightened. His eyes burned with defiance. "Yes, I defy you. I defy your rules. Kill me if you want, but you will never make me choose which innocent must die." The warlord stepped closer. His golden armor glimmered under the dim blue light. His claws scraped against the floor, making sparks fly. His voice rumbled like an earthquake. "You think your death will save them? Fool, if you fall, the sisters fall with you. Their lives are tied to your choice." The human's heart pounded. His body trembled, but he did not step back. He lifted his chin and stared into the warlord's burning eyes. "Then you will have to kill us all, because I will not play." The chamber shook as the crowd's voices grew louder. Some shouted in anger, demanding blood. Others whispered in awe, speaking of the human's courage. The guards looked at one another, uncertain. The sisters clung to hope in their chains. The warlord's control was cracking. He raised his arms and roared to the crowd. "This human dares to insult our trial. He dares to spit on our law. Tell me, people, show. But he die where he stands?" The crowd screamed, half with fury, half with confusion. The noise shook the walls. The human stood still, his fists clenched, his voice cutting through the chaos. "You call this law? You call this justice? Forcing strangers to choose death? On my world, we do not kill because we are told to. On my world, life is sacred. If you kill me now, you prove only your weakness, that your law is fear, not honor." His words pierced the chamber like arrows. Some of the guards shifted uncomfortably. One lowered his weapon. Another whispered, "He speaks truth." The older sister lifted her head high. "Do you see? Even a human, a stranger, sees the cruelty of your law. Will you still call yourselves noble if you spill his blood?" The younger sister cried out, her chains shaking. "He is willing to die for us. No traitor, no coward would do that. Only one with honor would stand like this." The warlord's jaw tightened. His golden eyes flickered with doubt. The crowd's roar split into two storms, half demanding death, half demanding change. The human pressed forward, his voice fierce, his eyes unyielding. "You wanted to test me. You wanted to see what a human heart would choose. Now you see it. My choice is simple. I choose neither death nor betrayal. I choose defiance. If you want to end me, then strike me down here and now. But know this, your people will never forget the day a human stood unbroken before your throne." The chamber fell into silence. Only the sound of chains and the heavy breath of the warlord remained. For the first time, the alien leader hesitated. His claws trembled at his sides. His golden eyes burned, but behind them was something else. Fear. The human's trick had grown into open defiance, and that defiance was spreading like fire through the crowd, through the guards, even into the sisters' hearts. The impossible choice was no longer his alone. Now it was a choice for the entire hall: obey the warlord's cruelty, or stand with the human who refused. The human clenched his fists, his eyes locked on the towering figure before him. His voice was low but steady. "This is my answer, not just to you, not just to your game, but to your whole world. Humanity does not kneel." The crowd erupted. Some cheered, some cursed, some trembled in silence, and the warlord's face, twisted with rage and fear, told the truth no words could hide. The game was slipping from his hands. The chamber had never heard such noise. The crowd beyond the iron doors roared like a sea in storm, half shouting for blood, half whispering of change. The guards at the doors shifted nervously, their weapons trembling in their hands. Some looked at the human with hate, others with quiet respect. The warlord stood frozen. His golden armor glimmered under the blue light, but his hands shook with rage. His game, his law, his power was slipping. The human stood in the center, chest heaving, fists clenched. He had not moved an inch. He had not bowed. His voice had struck harder than any blade. The warlord roared, his voice shaking the walls. "Enough!" The crowd fell into uneasy silence. The warlord's burning eyes turned to the sisters. "You dare to stand with this human? You dare echo his words?" The older sister raised her chin, chains rattling. "Yes, because he speaks truth. Your law is nothing but cruelty dressed as honor." The younger sister trembled but shouted too. "He has more courage than your armies. He stands unarmed, yet you fear him." Gasps filled the chamber. The warlord's claws curled tight. "You insolent worms," he growled. "You think this human is hope? He is nothing, a stray creature dragged from the stars. He will die, and so will you." He lifted his arm, claws glowing with red fire. The human braced himself. The sisters shut their eyes. But then, something happened. One of the guards shouted, his voice breaking the silence. "Warlord, wait!" All eyes turned. The guard's mask shook as he spoke. "You said the trial was law, but law must be fair. He gave his choice. If you strike him down now, it proves the law was only a game of lies." Another guard lowered his weapon. "He is right. If the human dies without honor, then what do we serve? Justice or fear?" The warlord froze, his claw still raised. His eyes darted from guard to guard. The human saw it, the crack widening. Doubt was spreading. He stepped forward, his voice strong. "You see it, don't you? He promised a game of truth, but all he wanted was blood. Look at him, afraid of words, afraid of choice, afraid of a human." The crowd erupted again, louder than before. Cheers mixed with shouts, but now there was fire in the voices of those who supported the human. The warlord's control was breaking apart. The older sister suddenly cried out, her voice sharp as a blade. "Do you want to know why he truly fears this human?" The chamber grew quiet. The warlord's eyes widened. The older sister's silver eyes blazed. "Because humans are not weak, because long ago his armies faced them at the edge of the stars, and they lost." The crowd gasped. The human's heart pounded. The younger sister spoke, trembling but fierce. "Yes, he hides it, but it is true. His people once fought humans and were driven back. That is why he tests this one. He fears what humans might rise to become." The guards looked at each other, whispers flying like sparks. The human's eyes widened. Pieces began to fall together. So that was it. This trial was never random. It was a trap, a test. They wanted to break me, to prove humanity was weak. The warlord roared, his voice desperate now. "Lies! Filthy lies!" He slammed his claw into the iron floor, cracking it. "Humans are nothing. This one is nothing." But his words no longer had the same weight. The crowd murmured louder, restless. Doubt spread like wildfire. The human stepped closer, his voice cutting through the noise. "So that's the truth. You didn't bring me here to choose. You brought me here because you're afraid. Afraid of what my people are. Afraid of what we can be." The warlord's golden eyes flickered. His claws trembled. The human's chest rose high, his voice thundered now, full of fire. "You call yourself a ruler, but you are only a coward hiding behind games of blood. You wanted to test me? Then here is my answer. Humanity does not break. Humanity does not bow. Not to you, not to anyone." The chamber shook with the roar of the crowd. Some cheered wildly, others screamed in rage, but one thing was certain. The warlord's grip was slipping fast. The guards began to split. Some raised their weapons at the human. Others lowered them, standing still, eyes uncertain. The older sister cried out, "Do you see it, human? The warlord's rule is crumbling. His people see his fear." The younger whispered, her voice shaking but full of hope. "This is the moment. You have turned his game upside down. Now he must face you without it." The human clenched his fists. His heart thundered, but his spirit blazed. He had walked into this chamber as a prisoner. Now he stood as something more. Not a judge, not a victim, but a spark. And sparks could set fire to empires. The warlord roared, lifting both claws, fire burning brighter than ever. His voice shook the heavens. "If you want war, human, then you shall have it." The crowd screamed. The guards raised their weapons. The sisters' chains rattled as they pulled with all their strength, and the human stood in the center, unflinching, ready for what was coming. Because the trial was over, and the real battle had just begun. The chamber shook like thunder. The warlord's roar echoed through the hall as his claws burned with fire. The crowd screamed from beyond the iron gates, half calling for blood, half calling for freedom. The guards trembled, caught between fear of their master and the fire in the human's words. The human stood in the center, unarmed but unbroken. His chest rose and fell, his eyes steady. The sisters strained against their chains, their faces lit by the flickering glow. The warlord pointed at him, his voice booming like an earthquake. "You dare shame me before my people? You dare speak of rebellion in my house? Then die as all traitors die!" The human did not flinch. He took one step forward. His voice was clear, sharp as a blade. "You call me traitor. You call me weak. But look around you, warlord. Do you see it? Your people no longer cheer for you. They question you. They doubt you. And why? Because one unarmed human stood against you, and you could not break him." The guards exchanged glances. Some lowered their weapons. Some looked at the warlord with hesitation. The crowd's roar shifted. Less fury now, more whispers, more doubt. The older sister cried out, her voice strong. "Your time is ending, warlord. The law of cruelty is broken." The younger shouted, tears in her glowing eyes. "This human has done what none of us dared. He stood without fear." The warlord's claws crackled with fire. He lunged forward, towering over the human. "Then let us see how long your courage lasts against death." The human's body tensed. He had no weapon, no shield, but he raised his fists, his eyes burning with resolve. "If I fall standing. That is the human way." The warlord struck, his claw crashing down. Sparks exploded across the iron floor. The crowd gasped. The human rolled aside, barely escaping. The chains of the sisters rattled as they screamed his name. The guards hesitated. Some stepped forward, some back. The hall shook with chaos. The human rose to his feet again, sweat on his brow, fire in his eyes. "You see?" he shouted to the crowd. "He is no god. He bleeds, he rages because he fears truth." The warlord roared and struck again, but his claw scraped only air. The human dodged. Ed breathing hard, his body trembling but his spirit unshaken. The crowd erupted louder. Some began to chant, not for the warlord but for the human. The sound spread like wildfire. "Human! Human! Human!" The warlord's golden eyes widened, his claws shook. The chants cut deeper than any blade. His power was crumbling before his eyes. The human stood tall, his voice rising above the storm. "This is my answer. Humanity will not kneel. Humanity will not kill for your games. And humanity will never fear tyrants like you." The older sister shouted, "Look at him, my people. He is not one of us, yet he carries the courage we forgot." The younger cried, "If even a human will stand for justice, then why not us?" The guards lowered their weapons. Some tore off their masks. The crowd beyond the gates roared in agreement. The arena of cruelty was turning into a spark of rebellion. The warlord staggered back, his fire dimming, his roar shaking with fury and fear. "No! No! I am your law! I am your master!" The human took another step forward, his voice cut through the chamber like lightning. "No! You are finished!" The sisters' chains snapped as the guards, now turning against their master, freed them. The older sister stood tall at the human's side, her fire returning. The younger rushed forward, her trembling gone, her eyes shining with new strength. Together they faced the warlord. The hall was no longer his throne, it was their battlefield. The warlord let out one final roar, fire burning in his claws. He charged forward, but his people did not cheer him. They watched in silence, their hearts already turned. The human raised his voice one last time. "This is humanity's answer. We do not choose death. We choose life. We choose defiance. We choose freedom." The words struck like thunder. The sisters cried out with him. The guards dropped to one knee. The crowd roared, not for the warlord, but for the human. The warlord froze mid-charge. His golden eyes saw it. His power was gone. His people no longer believed. His rule ended not by blade, but by a voice that refused to break. The human stood in silence, chest heaving, fists still clenched. The sisters stood beside him, free at last. The crowd chanted his name again and again. The warlord lowered his claws, his fire dimmed. He stepped back, defeated not by death, but by truth. The human whispered, more to himself than to anyone else. This was only the beginning. They wanted to test humanity. Now, they will face it. The sisters looked at him with awe and gratitude. One strong, one trembling, both alive. And for the first time since his capture, the human smiled, not in victory, but in defiance. Because the impossible choice had not ended in death. It had ended in freedom, and the galaxy had just learned the most dangerous truth of all. Humanity does not kneel.